Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of the Mandatory Live. Remember, if you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, follow us on our social media channels. We're at the Mandatory TKO, and you can also find us on the audio side. So, if you got a couple of minutes, leave a written review, give us a 5-star, because why wouldn't you? And by the way, happy Thanksgiving to everyone celebrating. It is Thanksgiving week. Black Friday, a lot of things this weekend. But before we get into, the holiday spirit, we will be talking about a turkey later on, but not the turkey that you think we're talking about. What I
Why did
mean
I
by
find that
that
so funny?
is, I guess it's supposed to be funny, but it's also a very lame joke that only a corny person like myself would make. As you know, if you watch this show, I make the corniest jokes. We will be talking about Turkey and how he purchased Ring magazine from Oscar de la Hoya. Also, we're going to get into a little bit more on Arnold Barbosa, who recently won his fight, because the WBO has officially ordered a fight between Arnold Barbosa Jr. and Jack Catterall. And
Hmm.
the winner could possibly, Brian, get
Should.
get Teofimo Lopez if Teofimo Lopez doesn't Teofimo Lopez, if you know what I mean. And we're going to be getting into all of that. But first, we are going to be starting off with, and before we actually get into it, leave your comments, drop them, because we're going to get into all of it. We are going to get into all of your comments. Keep the comments coming because, of course, this is an interactive show. But, Brian, I think what we have to talk about is the fact that Shakur Stevenson, William Zepeda, not happening. That was announced. And now there's talks that Shakur Stevenson and Kid Austin may actually be a possibility. Floyd Schofield, if not too familiar with his nickname, Kid Austin, that's a fight that apparently is in the works. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and people are going as far as to say his father is really putting out there like that this is being worked on and whatever the case may be. I think even somebody said that his father says it's done, but until it's official, like really official in this sport, we don't care. We don't care. Now, what I do care about is if this fight does happen. Now we're talking about a legitimately interesting fight, but I think Shakur Stevenson is put in a little bit of a tough spot here. The William Zepeda fight that's not happening. William Zepeda's hurt. We talked about his win over Tevin Farmer in one of our more recent shows, and Tevin Farmer probably had a pretty good case for winning that fight. Zepeda ends up getting the decision. He is injured. He's not going to be able to fight for a while. Shakur Stevenson hasn't been super active because he was recently injured. Now there's talk about him fighting in February against potentially Floyd Schofield. Sidebar: bad time for BoxRec to be undergoing maintenance right now as I try to look stuff up. But that's just great during the show live, as you can see. And I'm intrigued by this fight though, if it were to happen, because Schofield is like a young, hungry, like one of these challengers. He's been dropped already. He was dropped in his last fight, but we've seen him overcome a little bit of adversity, and he seemed primed to become a contender in his weight class. This is a little early, and I think what people are going to say is like, hey, Shakur Stevenson caught him early, and if he outboxes him, makes him look bad, then they're gonna just use it as like, hey, like when Tank fought Frank Martin, or to a much lesser degree than this, but when Floyd fought Canelo Alvarez is an example that everybody points to. Like it's gonna be looked at as one of those things if you just outbox him silly. But I mean, I'd be interested in it. I mean, wouldn't you? I think you're even higher because I'm not like I think Kid Austin's good, but you're higher on him than I am. So I do you think he could actually pull this off if they were to fight each other?
It depends because styles make fights, and I feel like I'd want to know what Shakur Stevenson and we would be going to get. Because if you're fighting Kid Austin, you're not going to want to get hit. So is that a lot of Shakur Stevenson running away and at the same time not throwing his hands enough? Because I think that's the thing with Shakur. He's so good defensively. He rarely gets touched, but he doesn't throw as much. I think this is actually a really good fight. I do still think Kid Austin very young, but I think it's entertaining. I think it might actually be a little bit more entertaining than William Zepeda, because I really think Floyd could be a face of boxing. I really do. I think he could be one of those young guys that could take over the sport.
Mm, I don't know about that, especially if he fights Shakur Stevenson. I mean,
Well, that's the thing, right? It's one of those fights where it's like he's young. If he loses,
yeah.
what will that happen with his career? But at the same time, it's not like one loss changes things. I know in like this era, everyone's like, "Oh my god, you got a loss." It's like the Money Mayweather thing.
Here, here's the
Nobody
thing though.
wants to not have an O.
Here's the thing though. If he so Eddie Hearn wants to put up reportedly a lot of money for this. Like he's out here saying like they've made a massive offer to Shakur Stevenson or whatever the case to get this done. Remember, Shakur Stevenson technically is in promotional free agency because he left Top Rank. And maybe he goes back, maybe he doesn't, whatever. But like he can kind of do what he wants now, which makes this part of it appealing. But if Shakur Stevenson just beats Kid Austin, then it's going to be like, hey, you lost to Shakur Stevenson, who a lot of people think is boring, who a lot of people are still having questions about. And if it's one of those fights where it's like 118, 110, and Shakur Stevenson just sort of like tit tats his way to a decision, and a lot of people are underwhelmed, and he boxes really well and defensively he's smart, but doesn't take a lot of chances because he feels like he doesn't need to, then yeah, I think I don't want to say you're DOA or you're screwed if you're Kid Austin because you're young, but at the same time, yeah, people are going to hold that against you. And then all of a sudden, maybe he's fighting Frank Martin a couple fights after that. And then it's like, oh, there's your crossroads bout already.
No, you know what I think? I think if that happens, it's going to be tougher for Shakur Stevenson because I don't think anyone's going to want to see a Shakur Stevenson fight if that's how it's going to go. Because I think that could be the worst thing to happen to Shakur Stevenson. Because what's the narrative right now? That he's a boring fighter. He's a great fighter. I actually really like Shakur Stevenson as a fighter. But there's that knock on him that he puts people to sleep. I mean, he almost put me to sleep and during one of his fights. Like, I'm going to be honest. Like, he doesn't put on the most entertaining bouts. I don't need you to knock out somebody. I've never been that type of boxing fan that needs a knockout. But I think that fight will say a lot more about Shakur Stevenson because he is going to want to play it safe in that fight. Do you not think that he will?
Yes, but I mean that's just his style. He's not gonna.
He's always
He's.
playing it safe. It doesn't matter who it's against.
I don't want to characterize him as like he's playing it safe for the sake of, but I mean he's a defensive fighter. He's a counter puncher. Like this is what pisses him off, or pisses a lot of people off about him. And there are times where you watch him and you feel like he can take more chances and actually stop somebody, but he's content with not doing so. And at the same time, it's like if you're interested in protecting your health, like this is what Floyd Mayweather was doing toward the end. Toward the end, I think that's the important part of this. Like Floyd Mayweather, like he was fighting differently before his first retirement than well after in the latter years of his career. And what you saw when he was at his height in terms of popularity and things of that nature, like that's what a lot of these young dudes try to emulate, is that style of Floyd, not the Floyd Mayweather who was fighting like Arturo Gatti or Diego Corrales. It's the one who was fighting not even Miguel Cotto. It's the ones who was fighting against like, Canelo Alvarez, Andre Berto, and guys like that, for
Don't
example.
talk about that Andre Berto fight. Like
I
I
like
hated,
Andre Berto,
I do, but I hated that fight for Floyd. Like I hated that was his last fight. Like I don't think I needed to see it, but I get why he did it.
Yeah.
For that record,
We both felt like Shakur could have gotten Artem Haratunian out of there.
hundred
Like we
percent.
both feel like he could have did that, but he took his foot off the gas.
I think that's one of the things with Shakur is that I think we just need a statement win from him. And I think one of those statement wins early on in his career, after people were saying that he was boring, was Jamel Herring. That
Yeah.
was the fight where we were like, okay, yeah, Shakur is getting busy. And we could kind of see it. And then it's just kind of been up and down since then.
One knockout since.
As for Kid Austin, I don't think he has that much to lose here, to be honest with you, because he is really, really young. And, we're seeing here in the comments that he's probably just not ready to fight Shakur. He doesn't have as much experience as Shakur. But at the same time, I don't think he has anything to lose. In fact, if he was to beat Shakur Stevenson, that would be crazy for him.
Yeah, I don't think that's
Right?
happening, but yeah,
It's
it'd be
probably
crazy.
not, but I mean, you never know with boxing.
Yeah.
You never know with boxing, and we don't actually know what type of Shakur Stevenson we're gonna get. If he's actually gonna let his hands go a little bit more and take some more chances, because at one point, like Devin Haney, when you think about defensively, he you could put him up there as like a great defensive fighter. But he started to take a lot more chances. I mean, we saw what happened against Ryan Garcia. He took a lot of hits against Loma, and that's kind of why I prefer Devin Haney a little bit over Shakur Stevenson in terms of entertainment, because Devin Haney is going to take the risk, but at the same time, he's going to do some beautiful boxing, and he's going to show you, some
Yeah.
beautiful defensive boxing as well. And that's kind of why I have Devin Haney a little bit over Shakur Stevenson in terms of entertainment.
Yeah, that's why he gets clipped more too, is what Shakur Stevenson will retort with, and I kind of get it, like we saw Jorge Linada is like he took a chance there when, I mean, Shakur Stevenson probably doesn't. Like, I mean, yeah, this is a tough one. I want to ask you this about Kid Austin specifically, because I'm looking at just the guys in the lightweight division that he would be around, I guess, in
Yeah.
terms of BoxRec rankings. BoxRec working now, so thank you for that. Who do you think would win a fight today between Kid Austin and Frank Martin?
I think Frank Martin is actually a pretty good boxer, and I think he boxed pretty well against Tank Davis, but I'm taking Kid Austin in that fight.
That's a tough one for me.
I'm taking Kid. I think I'm higher on Floyd Schofield than you are.
Chat. I would love to see some comments about that.
Yes,
We're gonna throw some comments up also, but do you think this one's a no for me, actually, and maybe I'm too high on this guy, but do you think Floyd Schofield right now beats Tevin Farmer?
I think Tevin Farmer would get robbed on the cards. That's what I think. That's what I think is going to happen, because we've seen it happen. I think Tevin Farmer can go toe to toe with anyone in the division.
Do you think Floyd Schofield would beat? This would actually be a great fight. Would beat Abdullah Mason?
I'm higher on Abdullah Mason.
Me too.
I love that kid. I love that kid. That
I want
kid
him
has
to fight
it
Shakur
all.
Stevenson. Shit.
Yeah, I would just put my money in Abdullah because I believe in him. That kid, I'm telling you, he's an absolute superstar. I like his career trajectory. If he keeps on going on this path, yeah, I'm picking him every time.
Let me give you a few other lightweights because I'm enjoying this. Floyd Schofield, or you're gonna say this other person, but Keyshawn Davis.
I think Floyd's really young right now, right? Like Keyshawn's more.
He's older than Abdullah Mason.
Yeah, Keyshawn's more
advanced in his
Yeah, like
development.
Keyshawn's that guy. You know what I mean? So right now, I'm not picking anyone against Keyshawn, but I still think Floyd has a lot to go. Like, what is Floyd, like 22 years old? Like, he's young, dude.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, this is early for this kind of opportunity. But hey,
when did Canelo fight Mayweather? He's like 23,
something like that.
Yeah.
Fernando Vargas was also really young when he fought Felix Trinidad.
Yes,
Shakur Stevenson is not Felix Trinidad stylistically at all, but like another example of a guy at his peak versus guy who can be. And Fernando Vargas still made a great career, but I mean,
one of my favorite fighters.
Lost a lot of high profile fights after that. Floyd Schofield or Andy Cruz?
I'm rolling with Andy Cruz. I'm sorry. I'm high on Andy Cruz.
Like people are going to use this win against Shakur Stevenson if it happens. Last one.
But I think I'd pick Andy Cruz over Shakur Stevenson. Like, I think
That's
Andy Cruz.
Interesting.
I think Andy Cruz might be one of the best boxers in that division. Like, yes, you know what? If it was today, and you had Shakur Stevenson against Andy Cruz, I'm gonna rock with Andy Cruz. I put my money on Andy Cruz, and he's more entertaining.
Floyd Schofield or George Kambosos?
Wait, stop it. Stop it. Like, I'm not answering that. Like, why? Why is that even a question?
There was a rumor that Shakur could fight George Kambosos.
I saw that. I was pissed off. I was like, Shakur, don't take that fight.
You don't need to. Do you want to bet money that's the fight that happens next instead?
I bet. And Kambosos is gonna be there. I don't mind that he gets the bag, but like, stop it. Like, I can't even believe you asked me that. I will say though, who would you pick? Andy Cruz or Shakur Stevenson? That's a very tough fight.
I'm still taking Shakur right now.
Okay.
I think and Andy Cruz is almost 30. So but we still have to see him against. He's going to be one of these dudes that, like, by the time he's 4-0 now as a pro.
Yeah.
He'll have a title probably in a few more fights. Like he'll be fight. He already has like an international title, so he has one of the regional ones, so to speak. He's gonna fight for a world title soon, maybe even as early as the end of 2025. Like by that point, I don't know if it's gonna be against Shakur Stevenson. Should probably look up where he's ranked as we're talking
That's a
about this.
fight though that I would love to see, but I think Shakur Stevenson will move up before he fights an Andy Cruz.
Yeah, because we talked to Tiger Johnson about this. He's probably a future welterweight,
Yeah.
in the future. Now, power wise, I don't know how
I,
that like how he'll do, but we'll see. Andy Cruz is ranked because let's remember Shakur Stevenson still WBC has the title. Andy Cruz is sixth according to the WBC. That's not nothing. Like he could actually rise up there pretty quickly. Fourth WBA, so that's Tank's title. Tank versus Andy Cruz would be a fucking banger.
I don't think Tank takes that fight.
Uh, Andy Cruz is six for the IBF. That's still Vasily Lomachenko. I wish he fought Shakur Stevenson.
I rather see that fight though. I still rather see Tank and Loma.
And we expect Baranchik to defend against Keyshawn Davis next. So,
Yes.
let's get to some comments because we got a bunch. We're gonna start with IMPK13. I like the over 15 minutes late.
Were we
The plus
15?
125. You would have lost because we were 6 minutes late.
Yeah. I mean, we were gonna be late, but that's just because we were waiting for you guys. That's all.
Yeah,
we just like to be a little bit nice.
Yeah, we delay it for a few minutes just to let people, people come in. Jesus chimes in. Saludos, happy Tuesday night. Yes, we are here. And then Shakur sleepinson. Nobody cares. Jesus don't give a shit about anybody. Al the pal. Yeah, Shakur and Kambosos, and now he has to join Eddie Hearn.
If they put on Shakur Stevenson and George Kambosos, I'm just gonna like get my blanket and turn the heat on and like pass out. Like while I watch, like I would just pass out watching that fight. I would never get that time back in my life. You know what I mean? Like that would be brutal. Like I would want to do something productive while watching that fight. Because that fight, I'm so tired of fights with George Kambosos. Like I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, what is the point? Like, you want to go down to Australia and get a win? Like, is that what it is? Like, Shakur he doesn't have to do that. I think Shakur can beat anybody in this division, dude.
I respect the shit out of George Kambosos. I'm not gonna badmouth him, but I get it.
I'm not bad mouthing him. I'm just saying,
you're tired of him getting these title shots. Listen, the George Kambosos run, like top 1% bag getter of all time.
I love it, and it's great. He has a family. I'm happy for him. I just don't want to see it anymore.
Turn that Teofimo Lopez upset into like 4 more money fights.
I gotta admit, I respect the hustle. I respect the hustle of what he did for that.
2 Devin Haney fights. I don't even know how I got the second one. 2 Devin Haney fights in Australia. And then the Maxi Hughes fight, which he should have lost, got the robbery win, and parlays that into a Vasily Lomachenko title shot. Like George Kambosos, top 1% bag getter of all time. Oh wait, IMPK. I put up his comment, didn't even read it. Schofield's not ready for Stevenson. Schofield versus Davis is a better fight, in my humble opinion. I agree, but I would even say like Davis is, as Shantelle was saying, a little more advanced, where Schofield is. Not because of pro fight, but like pro experience in terms of like amount of fights, but the level of competition he's fought is just better. They're moving him along faster, and he looks damn near flawless. Yeah, Schofield doesn't.
They're pushing Keyshawn at the rate that they should, and I don't think he goes back to fight a guy like Schofield, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Like he's on a path right now where he's gonna get bigger fights and bigger fights and bigger fights, and I don't think that's a big fight for him.
Not yet.
Yeah. And now, later on, when Schofield gets older,
if he beats Shakur,
well, he'll get any fight he wants, right? So,
Al the pal, Shakur's not going to get credit for Schofield. He shouldn't fight him. I kind of agree with this, but I'd rather see Schofield than Kambosos.
Oh, 100%. Please.
I'd rather see him fight Tevin Farmer than Kambosos.
Shakur?
Yes.
I don't think he wants to take that fight.
No, I know that.
I think Tevin Farmer
They're
I
gonna
I
be
think that's
fucking
another robbery
they'll be
for
staring
its
at each
head.
other like this, moving their heads and shit, you know, like, not
No,
gonna be a lot of punches in that fight, maybe.
I will
Well,
say
Tevin
though,
Farmer will bring it to somebody, but he just won't knock him out most likely.
he will. I mean, he scored a knockdown in his last fight, right? Like that
Still
was
got robbed.
crazy.
Still got
But
robbed.
I don't think like I said, I know a lot of people don't like the style Shakur fights, but he is arguably the best in the division. He can beat anybody. Like he's going to be the king of that division.
TJ says, "What's up?"
Thank you, TJ.
Let's see what other comments we have before we move on to the next one. Al the Pal and Hustle Man having a
Yeah,
discussion.
Al the Pal and Hustleman are going at it. Just keep it friendly, guys. That's all we ask. We like both of you. So
No, that's not the one I wanted to put up. I honestly don't know much about him, but his record showed he had power and anything could happen in a fight. I mean, it's kind of where we're at. All right, let's move on. I think we're good on Shakur Stevenson. 20 minutes on that. Jesus Christ.